Hi all, and welcome back to Garden Well, Eat Well. Of all the herbs, basil ranks up there as one of the more popular ones that most gardeners always grow. It's got great flavor and it's pretty easy to take care of. The one big issue it does have though is during the summer when the hot weather hits, basil always seems to have this tendency to bolt and start producing flowers. We ultimately do want it to reach that point when it starts to bloom so we can collect seed for next season, but in this video, I'll show what you can do to prevent it from bolting too early. And if yours has already reached that stage, don't worry, it's not too late. I'll show you how to slow the bolt and even rejuvenate the plant completely so it'll be totally productive for the rest of the season. During the spring and into the beginning of summer, basil typically grows great. You can go out there every day and pick a ton of leaves and they just keep coming. But later at some point, something in the plant switches on and you get these buds forming at the tips of all the stems. If you let them grow, these buds will form long stalks of flowers and the plant starts to slow down. Not only will you get fewer leaves, but they end up being smaller too. It's trying to switch over to setting seed now and it wants to prepare for next season. And that's completely normal if it's getting close to fall. But if it's bolting to seed too soon, then it's usually doing this because it's under some type of stress. And basically, the two main reasons are that the ground may be too hot, or the plant's just not getting enough consistent water. This season, I grew 2 beds of basil. Here for the first patch. This is one that I always grow every single year. I always plant a ton of it because it really is our favorite. This variety is called Italian Large Leaf. And we love it because it has a mild flavor and it goes great with any of the recipes we use it in. But over here on the other side of the yard, I've also tried another variety. I'm not quite sure what this one's called. A friend of mine gave me these seeds and for them, they insisted that this is their best tasting basil. So I had to try it. But after growing it, I found that its flavor was just too strong for us and just too overpowering. And I've kind of let it go and stopped taking care of it. And as you can see, it's all going to seed now. Although basil does grow best if it gets 6 to 8 hours of direct sun, as I said, all that heat can start to warm up the ground too much. And that can really stress the roots out. If it's not getting enough water, that can magnify the stress even more. If you can't give the plant any relief, it's going to bolt on you. And that's exactly what's happened here. Now, one easy way to lower the stress and keep it from bolting too early is to simply start mulching at the beginning of summer. I mostly use fresh grass clippings for that because when you have a lawn, it's a great way to use that resource. But you could use straw as well. Start with 2 to 3 inches and then keep adding to it later if it begins to break down. Not only will this insulate the roots from all that heat, but at the same time, it'll keep the moisture in the soil from evaporating too quickly. Another approach, if you don't want to mulch, is to plant them in such a way that they all work together to keep that stress down. Here in my main bed, I've got 18 plants and I've grown them about 15 inches apart or about 40 centimeters, and that's even between the rows. I've also been watering them well on a regular basis, about 1 inch of water a week so the soil never gets too dry. And by the time the summer heat comes, the plants have reached a point where they're now able to help protect each other. They've spread out to completely fill in all the gaps. You can barely make out where one plant ends and the next one starts. So even without mulching, they're still able to shade the roots themselves across the entire bed. But sometimes, although you've tried your best to keep the plants protected from that summer heat, some will still find a way to start budding up and prepare for seed. It's still easy to control them and keep them fully productive, but you have to keep an eye on them every few days. When you catch the buds early, you can quickly pinch them off before they turn into blossoms, because at this stage, they're very fragile and pop right off with hardly any effort. And with every stem you pinch, the plant will usually send up 2 new shoots. Here's a good example. After I cut the main stem a few weeks ago, the plant now has grown to produce these 2 new branches. And you can even see new side shoots forming, although they are growing slowly at the moment because most of the growth is happening at the top of the stem, which seems to have also formed buds. So that's fine. We can keep these stems producing by pinching these off too. That will force those small shoots to take off and you'll have plenty of leaves to pick in no time. Now, you don't have to wait until it's about to blossom to start pinching it. You can always use this technique every few weeks, starting when the plant is just a month old. That'll force it to grow much fuller, and that's exactly what I've been doing all along with this large patch of basil to get it looking so bushy. So, looking back to the row that I've completely neglected, the seed stalks are well developed now, and the leaves, well, they're pretty small. You probably feel that it's too far gone and not worth the trouble. Forget it, let it go to seed. But hold on. Let me show you how you can totally rejuvenate it. I'll first show you an example and how we can still turn this around and get a ton of leaves from these plants. Now, unlike those other buds which were delicate and easy to remove, these stems have become thick and even woody, a little more difficult to pinch off than with just your fingers. These really need a pair of scissors to cut through. And since each stem seems to be bolting at multiple points, we're going to cut them back. All the way back. And that is to trim them down to the first set of leaves that don't show any sign of bolting. These little shoots, they're okay to leave since they haven't formed any of that budding yet. And it may seem that we're going way too far and doing a real hatchet job. When you're done, you could find that you've had to remove more than half the plant. But I absolutely guarantee it'll all recover for you. So let's go through that row and see if we can turn things around. At first, you may feel reluctant and want to be careful not to cause too much harm to the plant. But don't be too cautious. That'll just slow you down too much. Again, the plants are completely resilient and really forgiving if you make any mistakes. Soon you'll get into a rhythm and quickly figure out where to make each cut. You'll find that you'll probably spend less than a minute to do each plant. So you should be done in no time. And even if you miss any of the buds, that's fine. You'll see them developing later and you can pinch them off then. They certainly look pretty sparse and scraggly now and maybe losing moisture from all those cuts. So make sure to give them a good watering to help them with their recovery. I also left this last plant on the end alone so it can finish going to seed, just in case I ever decide to plant this variety again. As far as all these cuttings go, you can easily just toss them all right into the compost, but maybe before you do that, you may want to check through them first because there's definitely going to be a lot of usable leaves in there, and you can still get a decent harvest from these scraps. So here, after only a week, you can see the plants are rebounding well with tons of new shoots. It's still a little sparse in there, but they'll fill in. They're coming along very nicely. I do see some signs of bolting from a few stems we missed pruning, but as I had said, we can pinch these off now. It's been a full 2 weeks since we cut everything back, and the plants are doing even better. They're much healthier looking and almost back to their original height. If any new buds do start forming, they'll be easy to control. And with luck, you can keep the plants looking full like this for the rest of the season. So now you don't have to worry. If your basil ever bolts, you know you can always rejuvenate it to keep it producing for you. And when you do use this technique, make sure to leave me a comment after on how well it worked. Thanks for watching, and remember, when you garden well, you'll always eat well.